Welcome to Shankar IFS Academy, Delhi branch. Let's have a one-on-one interaction with our expert today. Our expert for today is Mr. Satyendra Singh, an officer of Indian Forest Service 1986 batch. About our sir. Our sir has a greater professional niche in forest ecosystem, global governance of climate, as well as climate resilience, disaster risk reduction, and so on. Let's hear more from our sir. We welcome you, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for inviting me here. As you have told that I have been working in the field of disaster management for the last 37 years, and I have good exposure of working in the state government at local level and at international level also. I got an opportunity to work with the United Nations, that is Food and Agriculture Organization. Then I had interaction with the Asian Development Bank also in many countries, and I got good exposure and learning from different countries and different fields in the field of disaster management. So it was a very good journey, and as far as how I journey from Indian Forest Service to that disaster management, it was not a sudden, because I spent all my life in Delhi, and in 1978 there was a very severe flood in Delhi, and our area was also inundated by flood. So I had that time my first experience and exposure to disaster. Then I got to Bihar. And Bihar, as you know, that Bihar is very prone to various forms of disasters, particularly floods. Flood is every year there. Then there is drought also in southern part of Bihar. Then there is seismic vulnerability also, particularly the northern districts of Bihar are very prone to earthquakes. They lies in zone 5, and drought also is severe problem. So this when I worked in Bihar, so then I saw that how the people suffer, how the community suffer from different disasters. And side by side, I have been a member of central team also. Central team is basically team that is to assess the loss of disaster. So it is sent by central government to different states where some disaster is there. So I was part of that central team also, and that gives me good exposure that what type of suffering is there, particularly to the poor people due to disaster. So this gave me more opportunity to learn from about disasters, and I think that this is the right field I work for. And fortunately, my academic background also, because I did my PhD from Himalayan Geotectonics, my MSc in Geology, then I did MBA from United Kingdom University, that is University of Hull, in disaster management, and postdoctorate in sustainable rural development for disaster mitigation. So this all attracted me to a disaster management field, and I find this field very useful, and good learnings are there, and side by side it is a good exposure also.
Thank you, sir. Moving to the next question, sir. How did your field experiences as an IFS officer differ from that of disaster management taught in our classrooms?
In classroom, we just learn about vulnerability. We learn about hazards only, how many types of hazards are there, what are their impact. But in field, particularly, we learn about the experience and the sufferings of the people, particularly what type of sufferings are there for people, then how these, of course, everybody is there. When you go to a disaster prone area, so they have been suffering since long, so they have developed their own technology, own adaptation methods. The very adaptation method we also learn from them. So they are not, they are surviving in such difficult conditions. So this learning we can learn from people, and this we try to incorporate in our policy and plannings also, because whenever there is a disaster, community is the first responder. So we can learn from community, and we can plan our disaster management actions in the way the community plans.
So your academic journey spans Himalayan geotectonics and disaster management, as you already said. How did geology shape your understanding of disasters?
Geology is basically a study of humanity. Is help us about the various activities which are going within the earth and within the earth and the earth surface also. So most of the disasters, particularly like take the example of earthquake, we take the example of landslides, we take the example of drought, we take the example of flash floods and block is basically glacial lake outbursts up there. That is very disastrous things. So all these are somehow related to geology. So geology gives a basic understanding of disasters, how they are originated and how they can be mitigated. It tells about how we can think of mitigating the risk of disasters.
So what are the most memorable disaster situations you personally witnessed, so that keeps your perspective forever?
When I was doing graduation, that I told that in 1978 there was a severe flood in Delhi, and I think more than 20% of Delhi was underwater at that time. So that was very disaster thing, and I personally felt that. Then after that, in Bihar, there was very severe flood in 2008, and there was a dam in Nepal, that was Usaha Dam, and that was breached. So due to this breaching of the dam, this Kosi River was there, and Kosi River inundated all the so many areas. Hundreds of people were killed, all the area was devastated because the flow was very high. This Kosi is called the soul of Bihar. So this river inundated the large area, and it was very devastating. And after that rescue, that time we were not having so much rescue operations also were not updated that time. So that was very disastrous, and many people suffered from this. Then in 2013, in Uttarakhand, that was also a very severe disaster. That time I was director of National Institute of Disaster Management. I sent my team. I also personally went there. I saw that what was the so that all these things we compiled in the form of a report, which I just want to show. And this report is available on National Institute of Disaster Management website also. So this report is very comprehensive and gives a very detailed knowledge. What were the causes of these disasters, and what were the lessons learned. One thing I want to say is that every disaster leaves behind lessons to learn. So these lessons are to be learned, and these lessons are basically of two types. One is that what could not do good, and the second is what did the good. So we learn from all these things, and what did not do good. So what was the fault, what was the shortcoming that we have to learn, and what did good that we can certainly repeat. So these type of things certainly matters a lot.
Okay. Sir, having researched Himalayan geotectonics, do you believe Himalayas are entering a period of heightened disaster vulnerability?
Yes, sure. Himalaya is a very sensitive mountain. It is the youngest mountain in the world. And it is still uprising, because I did a very extensive study in Himalaya, starting from Uttarakhand up to Ladakh. I did my study, and it is a very seismically active one also, because as you know that geologically we see that it is the result of colliding of two tectonic plates, that is the Indian plate and Tibetan plate is there. When these plates are subsided, so Himalaya started rising, and still these plates are making movement. It's not silent, it is still active. So due to these plate tectonic movement, the Himalaya is becoming very active. There are many faults, there are many thrusts also, and rock, if we see the rock structure also, they are also very fragile. So that makes Himalaya region very sensitive, very ecologically, environmentally, and seismically very active.
Sir, our current infrastructure projects in Himalayas, they are adequately incorporating geological realities, or we are underestimating risks?
Actually, development is the right of everybody. Whether it is from Himalayan region, whether it is from plain regions, or whether it is from coastal zones, so development should be there. One should not be against the development. That is valid. That aspect should be very clear to everybody. But the problem is development should always be sustainable. Because as I told, that Himalaya is ecologically very, very sensitive. It is still uprising. It is very fragile. So whenever we carry out some developmental activities, we must take care of all these things into consideration. Whenever some project is there, whether it is road construction, whether it is tunnel construction, whether it is hydro power plant are there, so all these things must be taken into consideration in this report, which I just show it to you, that all these things are having, recommendations have been made. And for your information, I will tell that Honorable Supreme Court also take cognizance of these things, and they also instructed the state government. In 2013, we saw all these things there that was not there. One very important thing, just for example, I like to show, whenever we construct a road in Himalayan region, so 1 kilometer of road construction gives rise to debris of 20,000 to 60,000 cubic meter debris, and there is no proper arrangement of this debris, and this debris goes to the river bed. So this river bed is uplifting, and it is creating a lot of problems. So much environmental problems are there, so ecological problems are there, and this is the main reason of a disaster also.
So the frequency of flash floods and cloudbursts seems to be increasing.
Yeah.
Is this purely climate change or a combination of natural and anthropogenic factors?
Climate change is also an anthropogenic factor, but of course along with climate change there are other things also there, that the human interference is there. As I told that our development, most of the cases are not sustainable. They are not taking into consideration the geology, they are not taking proper consideration of the ecology. Of course, that environmental impact assessment is being carried out for most of the projects, but how this is being implemented, that is very, very important. Because we cannot replace a tree. What type of plantation is there? One very important thing in Himalayan is that most of the trees which we are planting, they should be indigenous species. So that is very, very important, because that keeps that root keeps the soil into capture. So that is very important. So therefore, while carrying out any developmental activity, we should take into consideration the geology, we should take into consideration the environment, we should take proper consideration of the ecology, we should take proper considerations of the settlement also there, because local community, they know better than us. So the involvement of the local community is very, very important in any development activity. They can be very good suggestions. They can provide very good suggestions. These are very eco-friendly and environmental friendly.
Thank you. So let's say we are advising, you were advising the government of India today. What would be your top 3 priorities for Himalayan disaster resilience?
Yeah, for Himalayan disaster risk reduction, the top priority should be there that when we are not against the development that you already mentioned. So when we carry out the developmental activities, we must first consider the geology of that part. What type of rocks are there, what type of tectonic features are there, how many thrusts are there, how many faults are there, how many joints are there, and all these must be taken into consideration. Second is the ecology and environment. What type of forests are there, what type of vegetations are there, what type of water content is there, what type of drainage is there. So all these things must be taken into consideration. Third very important aspect, that is the local community. Their consideration, their thought, their feedback, their guidance That is very, very important. Because they have been living, they have been surviving there since centuries. So their feedback, their recommendations, their suggestions should always be there in any developmental activity. And last but not the least, that is the, which I suggested, that is the debris or the mock that is generated by the developmental activity, whether it is some hydropower plant, whether it is road construction, whether it is tunnel construction, so that should be proper. That is very important, because post developmental activities, how we can revive that is very, very important. So these all these things must be done.
So India has moved from disaster relief to disaster risk reduction. How successful has this transition actually been?
Yes, certainly. After 2005, in 1999, there was a super cyclone in Odisha, and thousands of people were killed. But nowadays, if you see cyclones of similar intensity, similar strength, similar speed of wind are there, but casualties are very less compared to that. But the credit goes to the early warning system. So the first thing which India has done after 1990 super cyclone is our early warning system is strengthening, and not only for cyclone, for tsunami also we are not only restricted to India, we are providing support and information to other countries also. So India has the best, one of the best technology for early warning system. That is one thing. Second is our response. As if I'm not wrong, that India is the only country in the world which is having exclusively rescue force, that is National Disaster Response Force. That is exclusively for disaster response. In addition to that, our state government, most of the state governments, they have state disaster response force also. So our response system is very, very effective. And certainly you must have seen and you must have read in the newspaper also and news also, you must have seen that our response system is not only for India. We are supporting to other countries also, in Iran also, in Egypt also, in Nepal also. Nepal earthquake was there that time also. So, and in developed countries also, Japan also, the Japan tsunami was there in 2011 that time. Our National Disaster Response Force did an excellent work. So that response is also there. Then we have developed governance system also. In governance means we have Disaster Management Act that was enacted in 2005. That is very, very comprehensive act is there. Then we have started from national level up to local level. The disaster management system or governance is very, very effective there. At national level, our Honorable Prime Minister, the chairperson of National Disaster Management Authority, that is the apex body of disaster management. Then we have at state level, where state chief minister is the chairperson of that state disaster management authority. At district level, we have the district disaster management authority, where district magistrate are the chairperson of that authority, and up to village level we have authority. Then side by side we have NDRF is there, which I mentioned. Then we have for capacity building is very important. For capacity building, we have national level, that is National Institute of Disaster Management, where I was director for almost 4.5 years. That is the institute, and we have in other states also similar type of training and institutes are there. So these are the main key areas for disaster response, mitigation, and preparedness.
Okay, sir. So despite having warning systems and institutions, why we repeatedly see disaster becoming a developmental crisis?
Yeah, that is very unfortunate, and this we are seeing daily these type of problems. The main problem is that we have good governance system. We have act, we have regulations, we have rules, building bylaws are there, and all these acts are also there. But implementation of these acts, rules and regulations is the major problem. And one very important thing I'd like to mention is that the community awareness. We are not aware. Just for example, suppose one goes to purchase a flat. So nobody bothers about whether this flat is earthquake resistant or disaster resistant, what type of risks are there in the area. Suppose in Delhi also, and Delhi is lying in zone 4 of seismicity. It is very, very active zone. Anytime such type of, earthquake like Gujarat was there in 2001, be there. And you can imagine that what type of disastrous scenario may be there. So that awareness, because we are not asking for, community is not aware of. So community awareness is very, very important. And the simple thing is that when some disaster is there, how we respond, that is very important. Because in developed countries like in Japan, everybody, that disaster is being taught, so everybody knows that what to do when earthquake is there, where to go, inspiration high, what are the same. As Gujarat earthquake was there, very severe earthquake, thousands of people were killed. But in Japan, for your information, such type of earthquakes are very common. Zero casualties there. Because most of the buildings they are constructed are earthquake resistant. So that is because communities are there. Everybody knows that what to do when earthquake is there, when flood is there. So that is very, very important.
Yes, sir. Certainly, sir. What are the biggest governance failures that converts natural hazards into human disasters?
Yeah, governance failure, we can't say that it's a failure of governance. The thing is that it is basically some gap in our systems are there. There is not very good coordination because for disaster, so many agencies are there, so their coordination lacks. Like we take example of place where some fire was there in Malvi Nagar. So Malvi Nagar, unfortunately, more than 20 people were killed. So in that fire, you will see that there are many agencies involved, like the fire department is there, the disaster management department is there, then there is civil bodies are there, like police department is also there. But coordination is very, very lacking there. So the coordination among different stakeholders and the responsibility, that is very important because whenever some buildings are being constructed, so there must be fire clearance. I don't know how they got the fire clearance. They were allowed only for 2 rooms to use at BMP, but they were using more than that 2. So implementation is of the rules and regulations. That is also very important. That should be there. So rules and regulations, implementation and coordination, these type of are the things we can say that they are the governance failure, which are making such type of hazards turning into disaster.
Okay, sir. Sir, can district collectors realistically become an effective disaster managers, or does India need a specialized disaster care?
Yeah, you are right, because nowadays the nature of the disaster is changing. It is not a simple type of disaster. Disaster is having so many field where it has adverse impact. And not only impact, it is the origin of so many things also, like this environment things are there, ecology things are there, climate change things are there, human interference are there, developmental things are there. So it is not a single factor that is single hazard that is leading to a disaster. It is multi-various things they are coming into picture. So there needs to be some change in the system. Of course, district magistrate is the focal point, that should be the focal point. But it must be supported from different experts also. Now climate change is very much in talk nowadays. That's a reality. The climate change is having a direct impact on disasters. So we should not think of the present disaster. we must think that what will be the impact of that hazard in the future, coming near future also. So that is very important. We so think of after 20 years what may be the scenario, after 30 years what may be the scenario due to climate change and other factors, because human population pressure is also there, climate change is also there, weather is changing. So many factors are there. So all these things taken into consideration, and particularly in ecological and environmentally sensitive zones like Himalaya, and certainly we have some environmental experts also. We must have some foresters also. These things should be taken, then geologists also should be there. So all the weather experts should be there. So all these experts committee must be there. They must make suggestions, whatever developmental activity. And one very important thing that which I would like to add is that we should not carry out any developmental activity without taking into consideration the risk. Because risk is everywhere, whether it is a plain area, whether it is a hilly area, whether it is coastal zone area. So everywhere some risk is there. So that should be taken into consideration.
Sir, having worked with the international organizations such as FAO, what lessons can India learn from global best practices in disaster risk reduction?
Yeah, that is very important, and because as I told that we learn from each disaster and we learn from each other also. Some countries have done excellent work, particularly in the field of response, also in the field of mitigations, also in the field of agriculture or agricultural disasters, also livelihood disasters also. So the first thing which we can learn from international exposure is the use of technology. That is very, very important. Nowadays technologies are being developed, and so many new things are there, like artificial intelligence are there, GIS, Geographic Information System is there, and so many scientific developments are there. So we should adopt new technology. Like I'll give you one example of forest fire. Forest fire is a very good disaster, and it is leading to so many other disasters also. Like forest fire, due to forest fire, landslides are there, flash floods are there, so many other disasters it is originally. So forest fire, what type of equipment, in particularly hilly terrain, what type of equipment can be there to respond? That technology we are not having. In Uttarakhand and Himachal, whenever I have personal experience, when we have such type of forest fire disasters, so our equipment are not suitable. That is one. Technology is very important. Then early warning system, that is important. Of course, we have done very good and excellent work in cyclone, but in forest fire and such type of other disasters, that is very, very important. Then second is earthquake resistant building. That is important, particularly our lifeline building. Lifeline buildings means like the hospitals are there, like the schools are there, like the administrative buildings are there, public gathering buildings are there. So these type of buildings we should at least construct earthquake resistant. That technology must be there. Nowadays the big disaster is coming in the form of energy. That is also a disaster. So we must be self-sufficient in energy sector, as our Honorable Prime Minister also mentioned, that green energy, that technology must be there. Green hydrogen we are talking about, but technology is there. So the technology is the first thing that we should learn from other countries. Then second is about what we call that response mechanism. Response mechanism, we have NDRF, but we have to update this. We have to upgrade NDRF. And the third, very important, that is there, that is the community involvement. How to involve the community and how to make our people aware. In Japan, you must be surprised to know that disaster management is being taught from class 1. Even a class 2 student is knowing very well what to do when some earthquake is there, when some disaster is there. If you permit me, I will give you a very simple example. In 2004, there was a tsunami. thousands of people were killed. There was a girl. She was taught in her school that what are the symptoms of tsunami. Whenever tsunami is there, she was taught in school that before tsunami, sea recedes, it goes back, and the post becomes empty. That was there that she learned. During this tsunami period, she was there along with her family to Thailand, and they were enjoying making picnic and other things. Suddenly, she saw that she started receding. She told her father that this is the symptom of tsunami, and everybody took her seriously. And all the people, around 100 people, they went to her place, and they were saved by this small knowledge of that girl. So knowledge is important. We must teach everybody. We must be aware. This fire was there in Malviya. Second example is there. Malviya fire was there. In fire incidents, most of them, 80% deaths are due to smoke. It is not by burning. It is due to smoke. Smoke, very small things is there that whenever some smoke is there, we can't escape, we can't go to any place, there is no escape route. So we must simply keep a wet cloth, maybe a towel, maybe some other cloth on our mouth, and we should lie down. That will keep you survive. So these are the small things. So awareness is very, very important. So these we can learn from Japan, we can learn from Netherlands, we can learn from New Zealand, where these type of things are being taught starting from school. That is very important.
Yes, sir. So which countries do you believe have built the most resilient disaster management systems, and what makes them successful?
As I mentioned, Japan is the example. Japan is the example all over the world. Japan is having very good you must be aware that Japan is lying in a very seismic reactive zone. It is because the fire attacks, where plates are colliding, where all type of disasters are there, earthquakes are there, tsunamis are there, floods are there, and so many other disasters are there. But even they are surviving. So they have developed their technology. They have like the earthquake resistant buildings, how to make the earthquake resistant building. That is the best practice in Japan. Then, for floods also, they have done excellent. They have the system urban flooding also. Nowadays, we are having urban flooding in Gurugram, in Delhi also, in Faridabad also, Mumbai, of course, is very prone to such floods. So, urban flooding also, they have done excellent system. That is very, very important. Then, Netherlands also. That's particularly in community awareness and in technology also. And New Zealand has done excellent work in coordination mechanism in different departments, how they coordinate, how they respond, right? So that type of things we can learn. And one very important thing, I worked in Bangladesh also for 2.5 years. So Bangladesh has also done some excellent work in disaster management, that is about the community awareness and communication, particularly whenever some early warning system is there. So how this early warning system goes up to grassroots level, that is very important, because our Indian Meteorological Department is saying that this will be there. Nowadays we have alerts that is very initiative taken by Government of India, particularly the National Disaster Management Authority. You must be getting this warning system on your mobile also.
Yes.
So this type of system Bangladesh has done quite long back, and so then community responding is very important. So some countries have done very good work in community responding, because whenever some disaster is there, community is the first responder. Like you must have seen in Thalali recently, this disaster was there. So that reaching, particularly in such difficult terrain, reaching help or response takes time. So community is strong, community is well aware, community is well equipped, community is capacitated. Certainly they can reduce the risk of the disaster.
Sir, how should a developing country balance economic growth with climate resilience without slowing their development?
This is a misconception basically that making a developmental project resilient cost much. It is not like that. Because development, we should not, our thinking is basically that we are thinking disaster management in one direction and development in that. They are integral part of our development activity. They must be. As for World Bank report is there, it says if we spend $1 on mitigation, preparedness and prevention, it saves $7. Right? So we should never think that disaster mitigation, disaster prevention and preparedness are separate from development. They must be integral part of our development. Wherever we do some developmental activity, we must carry out a study that what type of risks are there and how to integrate this risk reduction in our developmental activity. That is very, very important. So that should be there, that is there, certainly we can reduce the risk of that.
Right. Climate adaptation often receives less attention than mitigation. Why is adaptation becoming increasingly important for countries like India?
India is a developing country and we are not contributing much to climate risk, but we are one of the worst sufferers, particularly all developing countries. They are the worst sufferers of climate change. So we don't have any alternative. We have to adapt for that. Mitigations means climate mitigations means that we reducing the emission of greenhouse gases. Of course, that is very, very important, but the most important for developing countries, how we survive in the changing climatic conditions. That is important. So for that, we have to adapt. We have to adapt with the changing climate, particularly you can see any sector, agriculture sector. Nowadays, agriculture is the worst affected due to climate change. Whenever some disaster is there, as per Food and Agriculture report, around 23-25% damage and losses in the agriculture sector due to any disaster, whether it is flood, whether it is drought, that is there. So that is very important. So we should always adapt. We need to adapt. There is no alternative. For developing countries, there is no alternative. We must think of mitigation also, but mitigation is for the future things. At present, our present need and present demand is adaptation. How we adapt, how we survive, how we reduce our risk. That is important.
Yes, sir. So we will ask you some UPSC oriented insights also, just like how you had given your suggestions on the other questions. If you were setting UPSC mains questions on disaster management today, what issue would you want future administrators to think deeply about?
Administration basically, our administrator is concerned with the developmental activity also. So in all the developmental activity, my first lesson and first suggestions will be to the administration. Whenever you carry out, whenever you think of some developmental activity, we must think of risk also. What are the risks involved? So that risk is very, very important. Risk estimation. We have Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction. There are 4 priority areas. First priority area is risk assessment. What type of risk is there? Then second is the governance system, strengthening our governance system. That is very important for administration. In our national disaster management plan also this thing is there. That second important thing is governance. How we suppose we want to carry out some developmental activity in one district, so we should have a good governance. We should have some experts also from different places. That is very, very important. So this governance is important. Then second is community. I am more emphasizing on community because community knows better. So whenever we carry out some developmental activity, we must listen to these people, we must take their recommendations, we should always involve them from the beginning up to the end of that project. Not only end, but after that project is finished, that also is important. So community involvement is very, very important. So all the administrations and all our systems that should be taken care of panchayat, that's taken care of the community, that's taken care of the local body. Then gender issue is also important. Because the worst suffer during a disaster are the women. Due to their social binding, due to their physical things, and so many other things are there, they are the worst sufferers. So whenever we carry out some developmental activity, so we must take into consideration that gender issue also. That is very important.
Yes.
And whenever we implement some disaster management plan, and the third very important thing that is there, that we should capacitate our community at local level, because after disaster, the immediate period that we call is the golden hour, that is important. When we can save maximum lives, coming response or coming help from outside take time. So if we capacitate our community with training, with equipment, certainly we can save so many lives and we can capacitate our system. So these 3-4 things are important for administration to think of disaster response and disaster risk reductions and preparedness.
What misconceptions do young civil servants and UPSC aspirants commonly have about disaster management?
Yeah, it's not only for everybody is having this problem. The problem is that we are thinking of disaster management means only relief. When our earlier system was like that. Before 2005, whenever some disaster was there, we were distributing relief, we were having some relief camps were there, some response rescue was there, and relief distribution after this chapter finished, and we were waiting for the second disaster. Same things still some of the, most of the people are having in our young administration now thinking that disaster management is like that only. But it's not done. For your information, I will tell that 80% of work that needs to be carried out for disaster management, effective disaster management, is before disaster.
Yes.
That is disaster prevention. Prevention means there is no disaster. We can prevent the disaster. Preparedness, if there is some disaster, we are prepared for that with the food, with the medicines, with the response, with the rescue and other things. That is disaster preparedness. And mitigations. Mitigations means if disaster is there, their impact of that disaster is minimized. That is mitigation. So mitigations, preparedness and prevention, these are the things we have to do before a disaster. So that is very important. That must be taken into consideration for our young administration and young aspirants for civil services. This is very important. They should know that disaster is not only relief, disaster is not only rescue, disaster is not only response. It is much more before disaster we have to carry out, we have to do.
Okay, sir. How can our future IAS, IPS and IFS officers integrate climate resilience into everyday governance instead of treating it as a separate subject?
Yes, mentioned that disaster management is to be integrated. It is in our daily life. We walk on road, then it can be any disaster. So, whatever activity we carry out, whether it is developmental activity, whether it is administrative activity, whether it is police activity, whether it is environmental activity, so these disaster management should be think of. It should be taken into consideration every developmental activity. Suppose we have for the police. Police, of course, is the first responder to disaster. Whenever some problem is there, everybody will give call to 112, 100. No? So police people, they must be very well equipped and they must be well trained in our disaster management. Disaster management is not the responsibility of disaster management department. It is the responsibility of every administrator. It is the responsibility of the water department also, it is the responsibility of the electricity department also, it is the responsibility of the police department also, it is the responsibility of the fire department also, forest department also. All these integrations, we need an integrated approach. The integrated approach can be there only, and that approach and help will be proper if we are equipped with the knowledge, we are equipped with the awareness, if we are equipped with the equipments, we are equipped with the response technology, that is very important. So police department, as I mentioned, they must be aware of. The building must be earthquake resistant, because in Gujarat earthquake, I will give the example when this 2001 this earthquake was there, 26 January, I was there on 28 January, and what we saw, our first observation was there, hospital was dismantled, police station was totally damaged, administrative officer was removed. So how they will respond? No? So that is the problem. I mean, as I mentioned that our lifeline building, these are the lifeline buildings where we control everything. So that is very important. So these lifeline buildings should always be disaster resistant, they must be there. So every department has to do that. Like this electricity is also very important. Whenever some disaster is there, so all these things are dismantled, and there is total dark is there. So really has to be carried out. So that electricity, how we can put that into things that is important. Communication is also important, because mobile everything stop working. So all these things are it's an integrated effort. Therefore, we are having a committee. Whenever some disaster is there, then our honorable Home Minister is organizing a meeting, because the Home Ministry is another ministry for that, and all these departments they integrate. So everybody is having their role and their place. So this stuff must be.
Yes, sir. We have come to our final question, sir. For aspirants preparing for civil service, what skills and mindset should they develop today to govern effectively in the era of climate uncertainty?
Yeah, for this, it's very important question, and certainly whenever we think of disaster management or climate change, first thing is that we should not see it separately. Climate change and disaster management are very much interlinked. Not interlinked, I say they are very inextricably linked. So that must be there. Then we should not think of the present only. We should think of the future also, that after 20 years, after 30 years, what will be the scenario. Then we should not think disaster management in isolation. Different aspects like this geography is there, geology is there, there's environmental science is there, social sciences are there. So everywhere this disaster management matters. So all the when we are preparing for IAS or some other maybe state civil services also, we must think of preparing for disaster management, environmental science, climate change, because these are the very emerging issues, and many questions are being asked on these topics. So certainly we must think in a different way, taking whole perspective, in holistic way. We must think that disaster management is not an isolated subject, it is part of every subject, and that needs to be there in a holistic way. That is very, very important.
Yes, sir. Sir, we are very grateful and deeply grateful for your time and your diplomatic wisdom with us today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us, sir. And thank you so much for all the viewers. Kindly subscribe to our channel for more such interactions with our experts.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, and it was my pleasure to be here, and thank you.
Jai Hind.